Next Level Conversation with Jeff Gabriel.
The restaurants that were already mature, their costs were already so high. I don't know. I mean, I haven't spoken. I mean, I've spoken to some commercial, you know, lease attorneys in New York, and I know that a lot of people were not willing to, ratchet deals back to make them attractive enough for those businesses to decide to sustain. But I bet you some of these new restaurants that came in, I bet you they get 8, 9, 10 months rent abatement before they even have to start paying, because if there's no other way that you're gonna, make, you need that kind of runway to make some
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think it's a good sign that, it's unfortunate that a lot of people are suffering business wise, but it's a sign that, like, old cells that die out, new cells will come back in, and new restaurants will come back in, new people will come back in. And I think that by the springtime, I think the city is going to have bounced back
Yeah.
70, 80% of what it was.
Right. Right. Well, I agree. I mean, I've been saying this from, for a long time, where everybody was, talking about gloom and doom,
It's bullshit.
and I'm old enough to have lived through, the two previous crises, 9/11 and the '08 financial collapse. So I've lived through that, especially 9/11. The same thing happened. In fact, that's when I bought my condo, was within 6 months after 9/11, when when there's this mass exodus,
Right.
Downtown. And that's when I bought the apartment. And since then, the city has come roaring back. And if you ask me, terrorism was more uncertain than this virus, which I think there's going to be a finite end to this when the vaccine comes out. And also, I think there's a long discussion here. We don't have to go into it, but I think that in the New York area, we're also, I think, approaching herd immunity to some extent, which is why the numbers have stayed low. So I think that, like you said, I think that by the end of the year, the beginning of next year, things are really going to turn around. I think a big time, second wave is highly unlikely.
It's not. Listen, if it comes or not, the city can't afford to. It just can't sustain it. I mean, I'm not, Dr. Fauci, and I'm certainly.
Well, look, if it came back like it did the first time, where there's thousands and thousands of cases and people dying again, then they're going to have to do a lockdown. But I don't think that's going to happen. I just think the numbers and there's science to support the idea that that's an unlikely scenario,
Right.
And anyway, that's, I'm not an infectious disease specialist either,
Right.
but I've been trying to follow this stuff pretty closely.
Well, I feel the way, you do too. And look, it was total, when anything like bad like this happens, and it's been a horrible thing, everything is amplified. Like the toilet paper. Everybody needed the toilet paper. Everybody needed to get out of the city, and then there were articles written, that, Seinfeld came and tried to combat, and other people that are New York City lovers came back and said, "What are you talking about?" The articles that were written and said,
Yeah.
"The end of New York, it will never be."
Seinfeld wrote, I saw Seinfeld's piece. I thought it was great. It was exactly how I felt,
Some
which
people attack them,
which
though.
is the city, New York City it's always coming back.
Right. Well, it was easy. Some people were. It's easy for Jerry Seinfeld, who's a gazillionaire, to say everything's going to be fine, and but
Okay, that's, yeah.
a lot of. But I mean, look, he's right though, and I do think that I feel it. I wasn't sure a couple of months ago. I mean, for instance, my business it's 40% back. It was 0 in April and May. It was 20% in June, 35% in July, and around 42% maybe in August. And I see it steadily increasing as we approach the election. It just sucks that all this is going down during an election, because you don't really know if things are being handled.
Yeah.
But going back to the 9/11 thing, I moved down to Tribeca. I got a great deal. 9/11, when it happened, I got a great deal on a brand new, rental apartment down there. I got a sick apartment.
Yeah, I know. I saw it.
Like,
And
three or
Yeah.
four blocks from
Right.
9/11. Maybe that's why I have grass growing up out of my back because I lived down there for a while.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yes, the green shrubbery is growing on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I shave it
Yeah, I
down.
went down there. I went down there also. I heard that there were some buildings where the owners were just standing outside the door, and when it was like, and I walked into these buildings, and they were like, "Make me an offer. Make me an offer." They were selling, $500,000 apartments they were taking like 50 grand just to leave. They just want to get the hell out of there.
Oh, you mean make me an offer to buy their place for that
Buy
cheap?
their place, yeah, because I didn't want to do it because I knew there was going to be construction going on there for 10 years and would be a construction zone, which it was. But
It wasn't bad though. It wasn't bad because I was down there. I lived down there for about 5-6 years. And
really,
I think the Freedom Tower had not started to get built again when I left. I stayed there for 5 years. It took them a long time
to actually get going.
Clean that up and contain that. I mean, they had to build a whole new wall and push all the water out. But my point is that if I remember correctly, and you can help me remember, when 9/11 happened, a lot of people left Manhattan too.
That's what I'm saying. There was an exodus. It was the same. It was the same thing happened.
Right. It was a huge.
And they were talking about how New York was dead, and that was always going to be the focus of any terrorist attacks. So people weren't going to come back.
I remember.
And they're saying exactly the same thing now. And I see this actually with some of my relatives, that are that age. They've left the city and they don't want to come back. Although, my niece and nephew, I mean, they're thinking about, coming back. They don't know what to do. And I'm advising them. I said, listen, this is a great time to buy real estate in Manhattan. In 10 years,
right,
it's going to double, triple in value, just like it did every other time.
Well, a friend of mine's a realtor now in Manhattan, so I asked him what's going on. He's like, there are some people that, for instance, if their kids have grown up and they always wanted to move into Manhattan, they're buying, you could probably you can go in now and you can offer 10% off list price and people won't throw you out. Or, say like you're crazy.
So there's some people doing that. That's good to hear.
There's people buying real estate, but you know what? It hasn't backed off that much. And you're talking like maybe 5 to 10% off what it was. It's not like 50%.
Yeah, right.
It's like the stock.
It really plummeted after 9/11. I mean, I got a crazy deal, and
it was what your apartment that you live in on
that you've been to.
I remember what you paid for it. I'm not going to tell you right now, but on the interview, but that was a good deal.
I can just say that it tripled in value since I've owned it.
Right.
Okay. Since 9/11, which is
so jealous.
Yeah, it's like 10 years. Huh?
My place I sold. I had to sell in New York when I owned it, but
Right. I mean, it's pulled back a little bit, but still, whatever. I mean, and I think the same thing. In the vaccine, that's the difference, is that there's something which can stop this more or less in its tracks, the vaccine.
Right.
With terrorism, they never knew. I mean, there could still be a terrorist attack tomorrow.
I remember the terrorism thing. It went on for a long time. I don't remember, but everybody was super afraid about it, and rightly so. But I knew people that there were new fields started. People become terrorist experts, terrorist lecturers. All the I don't even know if you remember also, because the internet really started to rev up around that time. That's when conspiracy theories really started exploding from online information, from social media, about what happened in 9/11. I don't want to debate that, but conspiracy theories have become mainstream, but
they've always been conspiracy theories, but they became big on the internet around then.
It's really started around 9/11 with what happened down there in peak oil and the end of the oil and the oil crisis and all these different things. But one thing I remember is it took a few months for Manhattan to socially come back. And I remember I was out to dinner with 10 people at a restaurant down in the Chelsea area. And we were out in the restaurant. And the restaurant was 70% full, 60% full. And it was just dead quiet. Nobody knew socially what to do. I don't know if you remember that at all. Do you remember that at all? When you would go out, everybody was very quiet and somber, and
I was living in New Jersey at the time. Yeah, I didn't move back. I didn't move into the city until 6 months after 9/11.
So I was with 8, 9, 10 people that I knew well, and I just started talking, and one thing led to another, and we started making some jokes, not about 9/11, but we started making some jokes, and everybody got uncomfortable in the restaurant, and people at my table didn't know what to do, and the maitre d' came over, and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry, we're just trying to be normal," and he said, "No, it's great. We just keep on doing what you're doing. We just need to have some norm." People wanted it, and then all of a sudden, everybody in the restaurant, not because of me, but there was multitude of us talking at that time, and everybody in the restaurant started talking. But it was my point is that things happen, they get extremely amplified, and then they go away, and then we forget. But this,
it's human nature. Human nature. We're like hardwired to respond to emergencies,
right?
All in, and that's crisis mode, and it lasts for a while, and there's all kinds of anxiety, and as soon as it's over, it's like it never happened, And I bet you, like, certainly a year from now, let's say Labor Day 2021, I'm telling you, this whole COVID thing is going to be totally in the rearview mirror. We're going to be like, the U.S. Open is going to be going on, right? And they were going to be, people are going to be like, can you remember when the U.S. Open was played with no spectators? People will be cracking up, I'll be back, in the comedy clubs. People are going to be making COVID jokes.